Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristin West, only on LA Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to What Women Want Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us for our show tonight, Directing Their Way Through Hollywood. We just had the Emmy Awards this past Sunday, and you won't believe who's come by the studio to chat with us. A director who won more Emmys than I can count. He brought one of his lead actors with him to the studio, plus a 16-year-old successful director. It's going to be an amazing show. I can't wait. I'm broadcasting from New York. And my co-host, Kristin West, is at LA Talk Radio Studio, along with our awesome guests waiting to come on the show. Hey, Kristin.
I know, it's a party in here today. I've never had so many guests live with me in the studio like this. It's exciting.
I know. I feel kind of weird. I'm sitting here in New York with, I can't see anybody. But you know what? I'm just going to kind of feel my way through the show. It's going to be a great one. And we're going backstage with Hollywood's greatest talents in a minute. But just first, I'm proud to say What Women Want Talk Radio has reached over 1 million downloads since we first hit the airwaves. And between latalkradio.com's archives, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, we're all over social media, of course. You can find us everywhere. So listen to those replays. And we are actively taking sponsors for our show for the next few months. It's more affordable than you would think, so email us for a complete deck through our website, whatwomenwantradio.com. But of course, after the show. And thank you so much for listening this evening. Kristin, I have good news. I'm not in California, but I'm the new host of Behind the Gates in New York, showing on AWE channel. And we've been filming this week in New York City at the most spectacular residences in the city to show you what's behind the gates. Get it? Behind the gates, like you drive by and you always wonder what's over that gate.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. Sometimes I just want to climb the wall and see one of those $20 million mansions, you know. So it's really fun, and I'm very excited to be doing it. And my background actually comes from high fashion modeling with Ford New York. And after that, I was a magazine editor, and that led me to TV hosting and reporting regularly for Better TV, City Buzz, all the TV networks around the country, both regional and national. And I'm currently a regular contributor on NBC and Fox. I'm also an entrepreneur. I founded the company What Women Want Networking 7 years ago, and we're hosting our second National Women's Conference October 19th through the 21st at the Hyatt Regency in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm also a St. Martin's Press author, and if that isn't enough, the mom of teenage twin girls. The house is nuts. And Kristin, I can't keep track of your career anymore. It is just skyrocketing with your movies, TV shows, and everything that you're doing.
This weekend was fun and chaotic. I was at the Silicon Beach Film Festival, and our short film, The Spirit Room, won the Best Horror Short. And you know who else won at that show, Judy? Our dear friend Leslie Zemeckis. She won Best Feature Documentary for Mabel Tiger Trainer.
She was just on the show a couple months ago.
Right. I was so excited. I texted her after the show to congratulate her. And of course, The Lich is in post-production now, the feature horror comedy. I can't wait for James Balsamo to get that out there. And then my other talk show, Horror Talk, is actually getting into some web series festivals. So I'm really excited about all of those developments too.
Yeah, well, congratulations. And I can't keep track of my own schedule, let alone yours, all your successes. So that is just fantastic. And before we bring on our guests straight from the sets of Hollywood, I would like to mention a webinar that What Women Want Networking, my company, is having this Tuesday, May 8th. Now, these are free value-added bonuses for being our listeners. And this one's called Cutting Edge Networking Series Part 1. Strategic Relationships. It's a live Zoom call where you can ask questions at the end, and I will be moderating along with Catherine Marshall, who I look up to in the networking space. So great conversation all around. Go to whatwomenwantnetworking.com and click under events. And that was our sponsor for this evening. What Women Want Networking. Okay, let's move on. Enough about me and my company and Kristin. Gregori J. Martin is here. He's an Emmy Award-winning director, a multiple Emmy Award-winning producer, and the founder, CEO, and chairman of Laney Entertainment. Martin is best known for his 15 15-time Emmy Award-winning and 32-time Emmy-nominated digital drama series The Bay, seen on Amazon's Prime Video, as well as the Emmy-nominated situation comedy This Just In, airing on P-O-P TV, where he serves as a director, writer, and co-executive producer. This guy is busy. Recognized by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences on April 29, 2018. Hello, that was just a few days ago. Martin received his 4th Emmy Award as creator and executive producer of The Bay, making the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences history as the first. Martin won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Directing in a Digital Drama Series. Martin has directed every episode of The Bay and is in development on its 4th season. Additional works of Martin, The Intruders, The South Side, and Jack Rio are also available on Amazon's Prime Video. Wow, Gregory. Congratulations, first of all, on all of your successes. That's unbelievable.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and I'm really happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show, and just off the cusp of the Emmys. You must be still riding high on that one.
Yes, I am, but I couldn't turn up wanting to find out what women want.
We're trying to figure you out. I want to change the Gregori J. Martin. I want to change the J to an E for Emmy. I think that would make sense at this point. Right? Gregory E. Martin.
Oh,
it's just incredible.
So
How does someone get nominated for 15 Emmys, by the way?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm
A lot of hard work.
Yes, a lot of hard work, and it takes an army. My actors are wonderful. My writing team is great. I'm just really grateful to have such a great team. I think it takes a lot of work, and we've been at it for many, many years. So it didn't happen overnight. The show had its first Emmy nomination the show was actually started in 2010 as, webisodes, 10 to 12 minute webisodes. We had our first nomination for short format in 2012, but we didn't win our first Emmy until 2015. So it took a while, and then from there we've been winning quite a few, but which we're very, very grateful for. But it definitely takes an army, a team.
Yeah, for sure. And that's so inspiring that you've been working, several years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years on this, and noting that you are successful now, and the rewards you've, come across. And because people listening out there, they always say, what do they say? The overnight success took 8 years.
10 years.
Yes.
And, Kristin, you just have to keep working at it and don't lose your dream. And you started very early, didn't you, Gregory?
Yeah, I guess so. I started, for my career, I started back in, the 19...
No, but you were young.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I was 20 something. I'll be 40.
A lot of 20-somethings are wandering around figuring out still what they're going to do.
Yeah, no. I and Kristos Andrews, who's my partner in crime, you'll meet him soon. But he and I have been kind of at it with Laney Entertainment for the last, I guess, 9 years, 7, 8 years.
That's longer than a lot of people's marriages, especially if you're, a soap couple. Yeah, that's a long commitment.
Yeah, well, we're good. We work really well together, and he's a creative genius, and so it's great to be part of, have him as my partner in crime.
Well, it's exciting, and how do you keep those storylines going? Year after year after year, you must be like a fountain of creativity.
With The Bay, the idea came to me when I was a kid, and so as a child, I created this character of Sarah Garrett, and she was maybe early 20s, and this beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, and who was always getting into trouble, and I just.
What was that laugh for, Kristin?
I feel a certain kindredness with this character.
And she's and so she just I just wrote the Bible of this character, and started as pictures when I was really young, and then I started doing synopsises, and then I started doing scripts, and then I shot a TV pilot back in 2003, which was called Waterfront, and it was had a lot of the same characters were in this, and so this story of this woman Sarah and her husbands and her boyfriends and her children and her family and her enemies, and it just was a Bible that I kind of dusted off when I decided to create the Bay, or bring the Bay into fruition. So yes, there, I go off of this Bible, and these characters are very real and very alive for me. And so to now, 4 seasons later on Amazon, or 3 seasons on Amazon later, the characters are very strong. They have a really big history.
And one of the strongest, of course, is Pete Garrett, who is played by Kristos. Kristos is here with us this evening. Kristos Andrews is a 3-time award-winning director. He's also an X Games champion.
Producer, yep.
Right, and producer. Mm-hmm. Two-time Guinness World Record holder. Andrews stars in the lead role of Golden Boy Pete Garrett in the multiple award-winning Emmy drama The Bay, the series on Amazon Prime Video, and currently stars in the series' regular role of teen heartthrob Tyler in the Emmy-nominated situation comedy This Just In, airing on Pop TV, a role which garnered him an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Performer in a Children's Preschool, Children's, or Educational and Informational Program. Andrews has recently been cast as the lead male role in a made-for-television holiday movie, Second Chance, which is directed by Christopher Ray and scheduled to be released this coming Christmas 2018. Andrews will also be starring as a series regular in a new sci-fi post-apocalyptic series, currently shooting the first 8 episodes. So it's great to have you on, too, Kristos.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate the explanation.
And I actually will not. I don't mean to chime in here, but there was I don't know. It must have been a
I was
little
gonna make
discrepancy on the on it there. He's actually a 7-time Emmy winner.
Wow.
And he's won 4 Emmys as a producer and 3 consecutive wins as an actor, as lead actor on The Bay.
Thanks, bro.
And it's also true that you were the youngest producer to receive a Daytime Emmy nomination at the age of 21. Is that correct, in 2012?
Yeah, it looks. That's been something written about. Yeah, it's been written about quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
What's the most challenging part of producing a soap opera, Kristos?
There's a lot of challenging factors that go into it. I will say, there's so many details that go into making a quality show happen, but it does get easier as time goes. The faith that upholds the show gets stronger and stronger the more success it garners. The more time passes, we've felt that strength. At first, it was kind of it's an uphill battle to get resources together and teammates there, and I really. I commend Gregori for being so strong about making it happen. It was a show in his mind as a kid, and it was a dream for him to be receiving Emmy recognition for.
Wait, you as a young kid, you had this idea, Gregori?
Yeah, it was. It came to me maybe at the age of 7 or so. That's when Sarah.
Oh my gosh, do tell.
I was my babysitter. Her name was Sarah, and she would race home. Or she would come pick us up from school, me and my 2 sisters and I, and race back to watch Santa Barbara. And so I would sit and watch Santa Barbara with her. She used to force us to watch it, but it was actually very, very interesting. It was a great show, and I remember at 7 years old watching Robin Wright, this beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman who I, growing up as a Latino, I didn't have a lot of natural blondes around me, so it was I was just fascinated by her, and so I created my own version. I named her after my babysitter. It was literally And I used to draw pictures of this woman named Sarah. And then I just started to create the story, the history of who she was and who she became. And then, when I grew up and became a professional, I started directing a bunch of films, and I met Tristan Rogers on the set of General Hospital, and he just said, you should create a web series. It's the television of the future. And I didn't understand the value of the web at that time, and in fact, it wasn't as valuable as it is today. But so I just didn't want to do it because I was doing films and there were features, and I just didn't know if it made any sense to do it. And then I found out that there was a category at the Emmys for web shows, for digital content. So I decided to figure out a show, and so I brought the character that I had as a kid, and I created the show of Sarah's life and everybody around her, and Pete, who I met, Kristos, just around about that time that I decided to produce this show. Sarah had a teenage son, and Kristos was 18 when I met him, and he was perfect for the part. And so I cast him in the role of Pete, and then through the years, the focus kind of shifted where it became a story about Sarah and Pete. So it's no longer just Sarah's story; it's actually Pete's story as well, and he does a phenomenal job bringing that together. Now, originally, we were thanks. Originally, we were a soap opera.
You're an amazing director. That's really what it is, though. It takes a good unit for an actor to do a good job, and especially good directing, good writing. So, thank you for being a good director, a good writer, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Kristos, what do you think makes the Bay unique?
Its story is unique. Its story carves out. It's basically the story itself of the behind the scenes of the show is just as unique as how the show is kind of got like. Well, I love how it's well written. It's fast paced. It doesn't have much filler, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. It's kept sharp and to the point that way, and the storylines are unique. Like the Cougar storyline, I went through the way that it was so real, the love, and then there's a conflict, and where I'm struggling between this woman and how it's an emotional fire versus more solid ground with Vivian, the other character, who's an angel, and Gregori J plays her. Lily Melgar plays my original love interest. But that's unique in itself. It was quite an experience to go through as an actor and to genuinely connect to and draw conclusions as the character, and therefore kind of grow my soul, quote unquote, myself through those conclusions I was able to make by playing Pete. But Wendy Rich also, who's writing with them together, they're executive producers, both of them. She's our partner now, and it's been really fun. The last season was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Well, especially after all of those Emmys. Now, you have a big international following, too, don't you, Gregori?
Well, we'll see. We just signed with GRB. We originally, when the show was a web series, we had we had it on Blip TV, and then Blip is in Australia and all over different places overseas. But when we moved to Amazon, it became strictly an Amazon, here in the domestic. Mm-hmm. But we just signed a deal with GRB. So the show is currently not available overseas, but I know GRB is working on doing some deals for that. But I started to say it, the word soap opera has got a terrible plague on it. And it shouldn't, because soap operas, everything is a soap opera. Mm-hmm. The Bay, when we first started, we were a lot campier, and the idea was, when we started as a web series, the idea was to do a soap opera, like a campy soap opera. But as we developed and we turned into a half-hour format, 14-episode season, we kind of moved away from that campy soap opera storytelling, mm-hmm. and now it's become more of like a serious crime drama. Of course, it has, sex, lies, scandal, and all that fun, guilty pleasure stuff. But it really is. It's weak. It's a drama. It's a drama series. But everything is a soap opera. Game of Thrones is a soap opera.
Oh, totally. It just has dragons that go.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you're in a situation, especially when a narrative hinges so much on interpersonal relationships and particularly familial relationships, and there are women with strong opinions involved, there's certainly soap operatic materials. And I'm glad that you brought that up about the perception of soaps as a drama, because people think of it as a woman's genre. Do you think men enjoy soaps too?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a man.
Yeah.
I enjoyed soaps. I grew up watching soaps. I went from Santa Barbara to General Hospital, which is where, as Kristos mentioned, Wendy Rich, she was doing some phenomenal stuff on General Hospital, and she made me a fan of that show, which is why when we decided to produce The Bay, we wanted somebody like Wendy Rich involved, and Kristos and I met with her back when we first started, and she came on as a consultant, and then, we moved to Amazon, and now we brought her in as an executive producer because she is awesome and she knows the genre.
And I think knowing the genre is important. I want to shift back to directing a little bit because we have so many directors in the room. Now, Kristos, you had done second unit directing, though, on The Bay as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And for those of you who don't know what second unit is, that's kind of like the field trip unit of directing, where you'll go out and get footage that the director's not able to keep the production moving on schedule. So what's the craziest second unit assignment Gregory over here has ever given you?
Man, I mean, there's been some crazy setups that I took, I felt like under pressure about. It varies so much because second unit could be you're just running camera on something, or it could be literally an entire unit of a setup and in more action than what's required of the main director to get the emotion out of another scene nearby. But the emotion didn't land on me or something like that. But there's been a time where it was actually for a pilot we did, and I'm.
That's what I was thinking. I knew you were going to say that one. Because I kind of spun it on last minute. I was like, okay, I need you to do this. I can't right now. It has to happen. He's like, what? And there was nothing. We didn't discuss it at all. I was like, you could do it. And I went up to direct my personal intimate scenes, and then he was downstairs dealing with 100 extras, and you can tell him.
What exactly did he have to do? What did you tell him?
I just said, go do it.
Yeah, that's literally all I had to work with. Okay, now let me figure the doing it out part. Let me just figure out doing it now that I'm going to do it.
Or maybe explain
hands-on directing school.
Yeah, it was, the scene was all right, so we're dealing with traffic, we're dealing with Wilshire Boulevard, we're dealing with everything, pedestrians, coordinating everyone, probably 3 or 4 cameras running from different angles and a drone in the air, and we've got to coordinate Tristan Rogers pulling up at the exact time that a whole bunch of people quitting their job are storming outside, and then
storming out of the building,
down the steps, and but no, they can't. 3 of them need to have a conversation real quick while everyone else is piling out around them. And then some of them need to stop and start hassling Tristan in the car, who stops and noticing his company's being shut. It's basically like a whole scene that needed to be coordinated the exact right timing. And I was on the walkie to all the different camera guys, the couple ADs were out there with all the extras that needed to be cued from inside, the cars that need to be Tristan, and then another car following. It was just a lot of juggling that needed to take place, but it was great because we got the shot, and I'm just great. We planned it, but then it was kind of it was meant to be. I guess it was just something that was put into my second unit that I was just happy it worked. I'm happy it worked out.
Yeah, and he's also really good with when I'm doing a scene, when I'm directing a scene, I'll block the scene with the actors and we're at the location. I'll block the scene, and then I'll say, okay, now can you speak with our cinematographer and figure out the shots?
So for those listening that don't know what blocking is, it's basically where the characters are supposed to go and stand and that type of thing, right? It's almost like a choreography.
Yeah, so I choreograph the scene with the actors, and then I'll say, okay, this is, and the camera crew's watching, and our crew's watching, and Kristos is there, and then I'll say, okay, now, Kristos, speak to the DP, the cinematographer, and figure out how we're going to shoot this, and then they'll talk, figure it out. Then I'll come back in and I'll say, okay, what do you guys got? And then they'll tell me, okay, this is the plan, blah blah blah, and then I'll say yay or nay, and then we'll go ahead and shoot it. So he helps me a lot because we have so many different cameramen that I need a sound person. So in a sense, he does. I mean, he's not the cinematographer, he's not the director of photography, but in a sense, he directs all of the cameras, so that they're getting the shots that we need to make sure that I have my coverage. And I
there's
also
so many moving parts. I mean, no pun intended.
right, exactly.
It's crazy, and I had to actually almost physically hold my 13-year-old daughter back because she is gunning to be a director. She's obsessed with the movie industry and wanted to get on this call, but I told her we had too many people to get on the call. So I would love it if you could just tell everyone out there in general what exactly a director does. But, besides coordinate everything.
Right. Well,
I've heard several different answers to this.
Okay. A good director should make sure that he's or she is responsible for every aspect of the production, from the performance to the art direction, to the wardrobe, to everything, every element of it. Obviously, the cameras and the lighting. A lot of directors don't get involved with that, and they don't. They're very specific.
How could they not?
Job. I know. I don't understand it, but it happens. So you'll be on a set where
things slip through the cracks.
Yeah. So things, and that's where they have a script supervisor there to make sure that they're not missing things. But for me particularly, I love when I have a script supervisor there, but sometimes the budget doesn't allow to have a script supervisor. So I've trained my brain to look at every single element on that screen. I'm watching to make sure we don't have a blank wall behind us. That's a big no-no for me as a director. If I'm shooting something, it has to look behind, whatever's behind the actor has to be just as visually, not just as visually, but it has to be visually entertaining. Otherwise, something's going to be off. The performance is key. I am an actor's director, and so I will do as many takes as I need to do in order to make sure that I get the best performance out of my actors. Obviously, I'm a stickler, and my makeup team always tease me about this, because if I see a hair out of place, she knows I'm going to call her to set to make sure that my actor's hair is in place,
Yeah, but but look where it's gotten you.
Right.
Seriously, like the attention to detail, Kristin, it's just incredible. And we're honestly so honored to have the two of you on the show here and talking about, the background behind all of this, because it's fascinating and it's just, it's inspiring to hear your story and what you go through.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I do have to credit Kristos for this. This is a story that we talk about, because when we first started the Bay, obviously the budget was a lot smaller. And he's like, we should do drones. And I'm like, no, we can't afford drones. We can't do drones. And I'm so glad that he convinced us to do it, because now every episode opens up with drone shots, and
Right.
If it wasn't for him convincing us to do the drones, we would not have these beautiful drones that are all over the show,
I love it. Just give us a
Thanks,
recap real quick on, where we can find your show, where people can go to see it.
Well, you can go to Prime Video. This is an actual interesting fact, because a lot of people don't know this, but especially people that are wanting to watch the show. Seasons 1 and 2 are on Amazon Prime. Season 3 is also on Amazon Prime, but they're not connected. Usually they connect all 3 seasons because they were distributed by 2 different companies. So the first 2 seasons are connected, and the third season isn't. But you can find all 3 seasons on Prime Video. And you could also find it on thebaytheseries.com. You can go to The Bay the Series on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We usually try to do our updates on what's going on with the show and where we are, and if we're shooting scenes for the new season, or we try to do a little behind the scenes stuff. And then you could also hashtag Binge the Bay, which is our hashtag.
I love that hashtag.
Thank you.
And speaking of Twitter, we had Melissa from Wisconsin tweet to us. She wants to know if there are any newcomers to the cast this upcoming season that she wants to know about.
I know she does. She's actually a great fan who's been supportive of us. If it's Melissa Clark?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, she's a big supporter of us, and I really appreciate her. But she's been with us since day one.
Wow.
Yeah, she's great. And she actually recreated a scene, from our earlier shows. She recreated that scene with her and somebody. I don't know who the guy was that she was with, but she reenacted it, and she posted it on YouTube and shared it, and it was a great. So she's awesome. But yeah, the answer is yes, we do have someone that we've approached. We can't talk about who it is. We haven't closed the deal yet, but it's somebody. If it works, it's going to be somebody really big. And of course, we're not done with the scripts, but of course there'll be plenty of other actors,
Well, we'd like to have the exclusive when that happens.
Yes.
Not to put you on the spot or anything, but we loved having you on the show. Fantastic job. Congratulations again on all of the Emmys. I wouldn't even be able to memorize all the categories that you're in, that you got nominated for. And Kristos, you as well. You're up and coming director, and your acting and producing is just so fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been fun. It feels quick, but it's fun.
I know. I want to get to Aniya's story too, and we're running out of time. I feel like we need to have a part 2, Kristin.
We do. We definitely do. Well, Aniya is here. She's a 16-year-old filmmaker and director from Philadelphia whose parents sacrificed everything and recently moved her to L.A. to further pursue her career. Her most recent project, 7, has a team of teen and young adults from across the country coming together to bring awareness to timeless topics that affect our society from a Gen Z perspective. Welcome so much, Aniya.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, one moment, dear. Sorry about that. Say that again.
I said I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here, too. Now, you're only 16.
I'm 16.
And your parents moved you across the country. How long have you been in L.A.?
It makes 8 months. We've moved here in August. We drove across the country in 3 days, which is kind of funny because it takes like a week to drive from the East Coast to West. But my dad finessed a lot, so we got here fast.
Welcome.
Yeah.
You go, Dad.
Yeah.
You're lucky to have these parents.
I'm so grateful. Travis T. Wolfe and Diana Wolfe, my parents.
Have you heard of Ishkabibbles?
I haven't. What is that?
That's a cheesesteak place in Philadelphia, which is amazing. So.
Ishkabibbles.
Yes.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. I'm vegetarian.
Oh.
But,
well.
Maybe
Is that Gregori talking to you?
That
Again,
is.
I have a blindfold
Yes,
on here.
yes, that's
broadcasting from New York.
Gregori.
Okay, so Gregori, what is the one thing that you would tell Aniya right now? Just on the edge. She's already a successful director, and she's young. Going to be a superstar. Obviously, what's the one thing you'd say to her right now?
Get involved with everything. I think that's the most important thing. Look at the entire picture. If you're, as a director, as I said earlier, you have to pay attention to every element, from the performance to the set design, to the lighting, to the camera angles, and make sure you're paying attention to all of those aspects.
Right.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Aniya, what age did you pick up a camera and start making media?
I picked up a camera at 13. I made my first short film called Selfie Wars, and from there I kind of recognized the power of film, and after that we decided to use it in a positive way to kind of influence change, challenge perspectives, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
Now, you started your film production company in 2015. What made you do that?
What made me do that? So actually, we started off as a photography company. Basically, when I was younger, filmmaking adds up and it gets expensive. So I love, visuals. So I used to take pictures for my actor friends, my friends at school, get some money that way and use that money to make these films to make a difference. And from there, it just progressed. And we were like, I'll still do photography, but my real dream, like my purpose here is directing. So we just kind of transformed it to an LLC. And we've been making professional films since 2015.
So when you say professional...
Congrats.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's not long.
No, it's not. So what kind of professional films are you making? I saw there was some music videos.
Yeah.
You also had sort of a press reel for a public speaker, maybe an author I saw on your site. So what kind of films are you making?
So as Mr. Gregori said, I'm just getting involved in everything as of now. But my favorite project, which was released last summer, is called Beyond My Skin. And it's not about race. It's more metaphorical. But
Which made me cry, by the way, the trailer.
I mean, it made you cry?
It seriously was so beautiful. The message, everything about it, the way it's produced, everything, directed. I mean, it was phenomenal.
Oh, well, I'm really glad it touched you. You know, that's our goal, to really heal and inspire, start
I was
conversations.
surprised. It takes a lot to make me tear up.
It does.
And, it was really fantastic. And it doesn't matter that you're 16 or not. For any age, that it's just done so well. And you have a quote that you say, there is so much power in the youth.
Okay.
Your Kickstarter campaign, when you spoke, you were so eloquent and beautiful and strong and driven. And one of the most fascinating things for me is seeing how visionaries like you come up with such pivotal concepts, things that really tug people and move them. Is there anything in particular you do to keep these ideas flowing or to keep the momentum going?
Well, thank you for everything you said. I appreciate it. I'm grateful. And everyone, like my team, my parents, my city, we're all really grateful because, that's really the purpose. It takes an army, to do these kinds of things. So we appreciate
I'm on
that.
#Team Aniya.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
But the question, so I would love to say that, there's something special that I do. Like I go off to this magical place and then all these ideas flow in and it's just like a movie. But no, really just the world around me, just being aware, the situations that I touch on, usually they don't appear out of thin air. They're very prevalent. Like our new movie that we're working on, 7 Projects with a Purpose. It touches on mental health and gun violence and climate change and mass incarceration and so much that is very relevant, these timeless situations. So, after figuring out what happens when you can exploit the power of film, we just want to use that in a different way. So really just staying woke, I guess you could say, staying in touch, talking to everyone you meet, hearing their perspectives, their stories, you really get a good idea of, what you want to do next.
Kristin, I feel like you've said things like that before too. Just being aware and, writing about things that move you, that type of thing. That's how you work a little bit too, right?
I think art imitates life and life imitates art, and they're constantly in dialogue with each other, which
Right.
It's interesting to me, Aniya, that you talk about your process that way, and I wanted to know what issue that you think affects teens the most that you haven't taken on yet in one of your projects.
That I haven't. I think, social media. And Selfie Wars was actually my first film that kind of tackled it a little bit, but I just picked up a camera. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really think about it too much into it, but now that I'm realizing we're getting into this space where social media is everything and it's the future, I was listening to this book. I listen to audibles because I'm not a fan of reading. I like to listen. I like to read, but I don't got time for it. But they were talking about how the most connected generation is the most disconnected. In a sense, and I just had to stop. I replayed it a couple times because I feel like that's really true. We have these text messages and apps where we can get connected to people instantly, but are we really connecting? Because now I feel like we're getting, this generation, Gen Z, where we don't want to meet in person. We just want to text. We don't even want to call. Calling is a burden. We don't want to hear each other and have that intimate connection. So I think that's the next thing after this project I'd love to get involved with and, study.
I think you're speaking to something very powerful in that we do have all of this technology at our disposal, for better or worse, and that we do feel that disconnect. And what's interesting is that, and I think even Gregori and Kristos could even touch on this too, is that it used to be a very big communal thing for when the movie came to town, everybody saw it in their little theater. And now everybody's seeing everything on phones, from their laptop screen, and the film event is not necessarily a community event anymore, which poses a challenge at all levels of the movie industry.
Yeah, that kind of goes
That's a
back
good
to
point.
this new thought that I was listening to TED Talks, and they were talking about back in the day, like with cavemen, like way back, we used to gather around a campfire and talk about stories and get together and connect that way. And it's like that's needed, like, to escape the burden of, like, human consciousness or some whatever. But like, now our new campfire is social media and, like, texting, and it's not the same. And that kind of goes into back to depression and mental illness. It's not really healthy for our well-being. It has its pros and cons, but you know.
I definitely agree with that. And actually, I don't think that the younger generation, the youth, actually realizes how drastically different it is. I'll be 40 on Friday. No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Sunday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Birthday.
Thank you. And but it's such a drastic difference, like from, you know, just people in their 20s or people in, especially my son who's, you know, 16, you know, but it's like I remember when I was young, I used to go outside and ride my bike and play, you know, kickball, you know, but that was what we did for fun. You know, we went out and we hung out with friends and we, you know, we socialized with people. Yes, we watched a lot of TV, and we all thought we were going to go blind if we sat too close to the TV, because that's what we were told, you know.
That's true.
But you know, and now they have these phones right in front of your face, you know. But it's a whole different world. I mean, it really is, and it's like the joy of going to a movie was, and it's still very, for me, I love going to the movies, and I have to get my popcorn, even though I'm full, but I have to have popcorn because that was part of the
It's part of the
Me
ritual
too.
experience.
I'm the
Part of-
same way.
part of-
I have
yes.
to have popcorn.
Yeah, and you're not hungry, and you keep eating the popcorn. You feel sick by the end of the movie, you know.
Right.
But
Or you eat
but-
them before
Totally.
it even starts during
Yeah,
the preview.
that's true.
Especially with Infinity War, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but it was just such an experience. It's so great, and like now, you know, people are just like I just watch people all day long with their phones. They're just in their phone. And they're on Instagram. You know, and it's like, where, you know, you're
Well,
not
that's why we
connecting with
need
the
all
world.
of you guys to keep us in that creative moment, to get us out to the theaters and to show us what's real, you know, and what's not, and what can be put up on screen and be inspired by.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I really value entertainment. Like,
Yeah.
I'm more of like the edutainment, but I value just like others that can do that like naturally. It's
Yeah.
cool.
It's cool.
And it actually is still there. One of the things that I remember when we first started the Bay, is people said short episodes. The attention spans, nobody has an attention span.
So quick.
So they were like, you just need short episodes. And so we did that. But we realize now that the shows are a half hour, and I guess people just got addicted to the show, but everyone wants longer episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
That's
still
right.
there. If you can entertain people, you know, they don't need to have like just be entertained by 5-minute little clips on, you know, or 1-minute clips on Instagram, you know. So
Well, I think that's a testament to craft. I think if you have a good storyline, a good product, great characters, great production value, and you know where to turn that story and make it more complicated, if you know how to do that, which it's obvious you do, Gregory
Thank you.
and Kristos, then the time will just fly by. You know,
Yeah.
anybody who watches a movie, the best movies, you're sitting there and it fades out, and you're like, really? 2 hours went by, 90 minutes went
Yeah.
by.
Mhm.
That's the best, I think,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Totally.
So I have to ask you, Aniya, what's your favorite part of movie making? Because you've done all sorts of things on set. What's your favorite part of being a director and making movies?
And have you cast your brother in a movie?
That's a constant talk, because most of the films I do, they're more teenage spaced, and he's 12, and he's really short too, so we can't even finesse it and make it look like he's older. But he's been in some of my stuff. But my favorite part, I get asked this quite frequently, and it changes as, you know, more experience goes by, as I do more things. But right now, I'm really in love with, I'd say, how it looks, the visual, the cinematography, and how that plays into how the story is being told, which I just think it's fascinating. Like different movement, and emotion, how those two work together. I love that part.
There's an interesting saying, and I'm sure I've appropriated it from somewhere. It might be Krakauer or one of those types. But a moving image must move.
Yeah.
And not just move through time and space, but it has to move in your heart.
Yeah.
And I think, Aniya, that's what you're discovering, and what Gregory and Kristos have discovered is how to make a moving image move.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
It's true. It's got to be moving. It's moving on all levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the most beautiful part is the internal journey as you're watching the journey. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. I didn't want to interject too much.
No,
it's real.
well, that's what you hit.
Yeah, it's good.
Appreciate it.
Kristos, actually, it's funny because I've known Kristos for 9 years, and I've probably seen him cry maybe 4 times in real life. But when he's watching a movie, I could maybe like once a month. You know?
Oh yeah,
so
that's just my jam. I
but
just sit there and cry to movies. That's my thing.
But that's
4 times in real life. I feel like I didn't cry once in real life.
No, you've cried.
Actually, no, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
There's been maybe like 4 times in 9 years.
Yeah.
You know?
We need a
this just happened.
docu-series
But-
behind the bay. See this.
But
Well, there you go, Aniya. Welcome to Hollywood.
Yes, welcome to Hollywood.
but he's touched by movies,
Right.
right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, you and Bill Maher have that in common. I was watching Bill Maher like 3 weeks ago, and he says that he never cries in his actual day-to-day life, but you sit him down in the dark in that ritualistic theater environment, and he'll cry like a baby. And I think that's the enduring power of movies, is still to be able to touch people on that heart level.
Right.
Where people in social media, like you said, can often be so crass. You know, they can say things to other people with impunity.
Right, like
bullying.
it's not cool to, I mean, it's especially on social media, like I'll look through my feed and it's just like, it's not cool to show emotion. Like, what? Emotion? What? Like, what? Like even with emojis, like they don't like people who use emojis. It's just like they're getting technical, and it's just like, why? Is it because this is just our new reality, like disconnection? So like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just-
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Rory Ogden. She's your cheerleader, Aniya. So excited and honored to work with you on 7 projects. She twittered out. And Gregori, we have someone who's asking if you intend to go beyond season 4.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
He's like, spoiler alert.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we will go beyond season 4.
We will go beyond season 4. There you go.
Yeah.
I like that answer.
The going, not to bring it back to what you just said, but like Kristos was mentioning the other day, we were talking about how people are so short. Now, you wish somebody happy birthday by saying HBD.
Right.
It's like save your HBD.
I was just joking about that. Yeah.
Well, and see, this is the thing. That's the post-modernity of the English language. I've had this discussion on this show before, is that, Shakespeare's English, Middle English, with the verse and was beautiful, and then we've gotten into modern English. But now with HBD and LOL and ROFL, we're in the post-modernity of English. And it's crazy, because how does that impact the stories that you tell?
Right.
And the writers that you hire, and how do they respond to that?
I think it makes them more valuable. Because, it's natural to want to feel emotion, like feel connection. So now that we're in a space where it's like, it's not maybe not normal, but we're getting there. It makes our work more like, I can't wait to go to Netflix and kind of listen and, watch what's going on. So, it only works on our end, though. It doesn't work for mental and emotional health. But maybe in that sense, making artwork more attractive.
Yeah, hopefully, these projects we put out retain the heart value that people are slowly losing in this, this next generation of things. For me, I enjoy feeling emotional watching a movie, because to me that's the whole point, to retain the ability to flex your heart muscle, really, because in life it's a little too tough to like let it out all the time or anything, or just feel vulnerable but it's a safety thing to watch a project and really feel genuinely connected to it, what you're going through, what the journey is.
Right, it's like
I love
intrinsic,
that.
like Yeah.
That's so beautiful, Kristos, that you kind of have brought us to that place of really flexing our heart muscle. I wish we had more time. My mind is blown right now. I know Judy's mind is blown
Seriously,
too.
it's amazing. I'm so honored.
We're going to have the master class back in directing, Judy. I think we're going to have Aniya back. We're going to have Gregori back. We're going to have Kristos back. And before...
And my daughter is so mad at me right now, so I got to put her either on the show or at least interviewing these guys, because it's just incredible what you're doing.
Tell her we said hi.
So much.
Yes. Oh, and can I just say thank you, Rory? Rory's actually the reason why I'm here. She told me about and she connected us together. So thanks for Rory. She's actually set photographer on our new project, 7 short movies. So.
And I love Rory.
Nice.
And I love it when women help women and when young women are helping young women. And thank you all so much. Last thing, very quickly, where can we find you, Aniya, online?
Sure. So if you want to follow my personal journey and just being a teenage girl navigating through LA, it's Aniya Wolfe on Instagram and Facebook, Aniya Wolfe BSP. But if you want to follow our new project where we have teenage writers from across the country getting together to figure this out, it's 7 short movies, Facebook and Instagram, 7 shorts on Twitter. Shout out.
It's spelled out, yeah. I'm just doing it right now, adding you.
7 short movies on Instagram, and then Aniya Wolfe, Aniya, Wolfe with an E. But then I have something else.
Yes.
So we're fundraising $15,000 to launch our project, 7 short movies. In the past, we successfully did $10,000 for Beyond My Skin, which was a feature-length film. But now we need $15,000 in 18 days to help all these teenagers get together to shed light on these projects. So if you're interested in supporting us, it's 7 short movies on Kickstarter. 7 projects with a purpose, 7 short movies.
Well, we're going to have to put that on our social media as well. Binge the Bay, folks. Use the hashtag and also follow the Bay, the series. Thank you guys so much. Next week, we are celebrating Mother's Day on Wednesday. Liz Bohannon wants to speak out on how she grew a 7-figure business while pregnant, and she landed on Shark Tank, and how the no from the Shark Tank folks did not crush her. And Holly Hurd is going to come by from Venture Mom as well. So remember, folks, subscribe to us on YouTube. Don't miss one show. Go to whatwomenwantradio.com for more information, and see you next week. Have a wonderful night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristin West, only on LA Talk Radio.